Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of Wrestling with the Future. I'm your host, Psychic Medium Angelo, joined tonight by female wrestling historian, author extraordinaire. This guy knows more about women than I do, and that's saying something. I'm sorry, Chris. Chris Bergstrom is America's foremost authority on female wrestling in America, and we have an amazing, amazing guest tonight. She is nothing short of legendary in the world of women's wrestling. Started her career in 1971. Trained, of course, under the Fabulous Moolah. And she was indeed fabulous on many different levels. Our guest tonight, the incomparable Joyce Grable. Joyce, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very glad to get to do this interview. And so you just come at me with whatever you want to.
Well, I should tell people this is the very first interview you've ever done one-on-one where you didn't have a half a dozen women trying to interrupt your conversation.
No, because we tend to talk over each other. And you start a story, and before you can finish it, they come in with a different story, and you never finish your story.
I know. I have to tell you something, Joyce. I did a show about 6 months ago called Ladies Night Out. And we're actually doing a part 2. Chris is helping me with that one. And I had, oh my God, I had Princess Victoria, Casey Carlisle. I had, oh my God, who else did I have on? Oh, and I had on Sherri Martel's best friend, Kathy Fitzpatrick. I don't think I said 5 words the entire show. It was, I just sat back and, you know, here's what I did the whole night. Drinking my coffee. Go ahead. So listen, you know, you look like a very sweet, kind woman. You don't look like you could. You're laughing at me. Oh my God. And so you don't look like you could kick ass, but I got to tell you something. I've watched a few of your matches. I've actually watched more than a few of your matches. You was quite a little butt kicker.
Yeah.
Did you?
Everything.
Well,
I had a lot.
I was just gonna say, did you grow up with like a lot of brothers where you had to fight your way to the top?
Right.
Jeez. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, they trained you good.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So, Chris, we're in the presence of an actual legend tonight.
I know. I'm kind of nervous in front of the great
don't be
Joyce Grable. As you know, that.
Look at this woman. She's a kind, gentle woman.
Yeah.
But don't piss her off because she'll put that famous arm bar of hers and break your arm off.
To see what Joyce can do to people.
On a dime, boom. And I would be, once I walked through those curtains, and I was Joyce Grable all the way. Mm-hmm. I met, from the time I did, I went into my character.
Yeah.
And you could not, I did not sign autographs, nothing like that. When I turned heel, when Wendi and I turned heel.
Well, you know what? That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Joyce, you led me to a great place to start with. I had Nikita Brezhnikov on the show a couple weeks ago, and we were talking exactly about that. About, you know, when you are a heel, you're not supposed to sign autographs. You're not supposed to sell merch. The babyface is the one that sells the merch and signs the autographs. So let me ask you, what happened to heat? Why is there no heat anymore?
Because they don't work the crowd. And they want to go out there smiling. You can't. You got to go out there like, I'm the queen of wrestling, and you try to take me on. And they don't do that now. They all smiling. If you watched any of mine when me and Wendy were healed,
Yeah.
then you could. One of us always was looking at the crowd. We'd pick out someone special in the crowd,
Yeah.
and we'd work with them. They didn't know it, but we could tell, oh yeah, I can get a lot of heat here. And I always hollered at the crowd, and that they felt like they were part of the match.
Well, you know, you said something important that I hope people latched onto. They worked the crowd. Now it seems, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like now they're spending too much time working the television camera instead of the crowd.
Yeah.
It definitely seems like just. Oh, go ahead, Joyce.
They do watch the cameras instead of looking at the crowd and getting them involved. Because when you got them involved, you don't have to take too many bumps. Like bumps galore now.
Yeah.
Back when I wrestled in the day, if we took 2 big bumps in a match when the babyface was making their comeback,
Right.
we had them. Eaten out of our hands. And that's why Wendi Richter and I were such good teammates. What she couldn't do, what I couldn't do, she could do. And we knew what each other was capable of, and we grew from there.
Yeah. And you know, and that's another thing that you said that's really important. You know, and especially with women's wrestling, when I watch women's wrestling now, I feel like I'm watching more of a beauty contest than a wrestling match. And that's the problem. Right. They don't know how to work heat. They don't know how to work the crowd. They're more interested in not messing up their hair. Back in Joyce Grable's day, they'd grab a handful of that hair and rip it out of your head. You know?
When I was going with Meg to some of her WWE things, you know, when she was doing the TVs and stuff like that, and I was back there and I saw them doing the girls putting their weaves in and their, you know, because I was agitated. Maybe because she was getting into dementia pretty bad. And I asked the girls in the dressing, I said, how do y'all, you know, not pull out each other's hair? We don't really. I said, we have that hair, especially like the other, she had a ponytail. And I grabbed that ponytail and I just, I nailed her by the ponytail. Y'all, I had in here, like, I just put, and all the hair would have come out.
Chris, pick up on that, brother.
That's one thing today, you know, that you really don't see, that in the golden age of women's wrestling you saw all the time, was hair mares. Women just grabbing a hold of someone's hair and just throwing them across the ring. Today they couldn't do it because, like Joyce said, their weaves would fall out.
You know who had and I'll tell you, you'll know who I'm talking about, Joyce. You'll know exactly who I'm talking about. The best hair mare that I ever saw, Donna Christanello.
Yes.
That woman, she would grab you from like underneath the hair. And oh man, she grabbed a handful of it. And you know, she wasn't working it, she was shooting. She grabbed that hair.
You made it good. You had to make it look good.
Exactly. That's the problem now. They don't care.
They just don't care.
I'll tell you what, I will put women of the golden era of women's wrestling up against the so-called divas, which I hate that term, by the way. I will put them up against these divas any day of the week, and I'll guarantee you that you won't find a blonde bimbo standing. Okay? Not a one. Because these women will tear them up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You know, before you joined us tonight, Chris and I were talking about the real heat, legit heat that existed between the women. And it seemed to be much more a hotter heat than the guys. You know, guys would just punch each other in the face, right? And be done with it.
Right.
But the women were brutal with each other. So if you had heat with a woman back in the locker room, or back in the dressing room, how did you personally deal with like somebody giving you, giving you your heat, and how did you deal with it? Like legit heat.
Uh, if I went to the ring, I could work with anyone. Even if we had trouble outside of the ring or whatever, I could go in the ring and work with them. But if when I gave them a big punch and if they didn't sell it, that next one was because the thing is, you sell for me and I'll sell for you.
Yeah.
But if you choose not to, I learned early to learn a few shooting rules because I worked with one girl and I was very new and she wasn't moving and she tried to hurt me.
Yeah.
And I said, no, this will never happen again. And so I made sure I learned how to lock up and hold the shooting weight on them
Yeah.
so that if it ever happened again. And when I would work with girls that weren't girls, I would always tend to stronger at first for them to know that, hey, just because I look like I don't have muscle, I'm a very strong person.
Well, now,
And
so
so
it sounds like what you're telling me is, if they got smart with you, they were going to get a receipt.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why I say, because I mostly took new girls on. Every time a new girl was ready, I would be the one that usually took them to Canada
Yeah.
in Melbourne Creek. I usually took them to his territory and trained them and stuff. So I'm the one that got hurt because they were new and they didn't know better. I broke my nose 3 times, and all 3 times was when they do a cross-body block and they pull the elbow back.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me right in the nose, and then the blood would flow.
Yeah.
But that was, I guess, my job was taking you girls on the road. If me and Wendi weren't out,
Yeah.
well,
you know what? That's a good place to start here. Because I'm going to go back a little bit, just a little bit back to when you started. You started in '71. Of course, you trained with the Fabulous Moolah. What was it about wrestling that you said, you know what, I could do this? Maybe it sounds a little crazy for a girl, a young girl back then, to get into this kooky world of wrestling. But what was it that you thought to yourself, hey, I could do this?
oh, I didn't want to get into wrestling. That was a quarter in my mind. A friend of mine asked me to go to Atlanta to auditorium with her. She said, Moolah's wrestling tonight, and to see if she was trained. And she said, come go with me. With that front row seat, I already had long blonde hair.
Right.
Moolah came to her against Vicki Williams. They wrestled, and it was over. And so she saw Moolah walking across the stage,
Yeah.
Go home. So she went over there and she says, told her, hey, I want to be a wrestler. And she said,
Right.
what about the blonde sitting next to you? So during her match, she had noticed me at ringside. And she said, oh no, she don't want to do it. I weighed 120 pounds. I mean, I was a teeny tiny thing. And so she told me, if you bring her with you, then I will train the both of you. If she doesn't come, don't bother coming. And so she talked me into going to Columbia, South Carolina at 19 years old. And, going out of
And you had, before this, you had no interest.
Well, we've gone to the matches, but no, I wasn't ever going to wrestle.
And did you watched it on TV and stuff like that? Yeah. And you went to a few shows.
Local, yeah. And when I got up there within 2 weeks, I could throw drop kicks, flying head scissors, and they were like, whoa. Because the other girls that came, my friends and the other girls there, they couldn't use the roll bumps down yet.
Right.
And so they were really jealous of what I could do. But hey, I was raised with boys. I could play baseball, softball, I could do it all.
Oh, sure.
And so when Moolah saw that...
Well, I have to tell you, I have to tell you, no, I watched a few of your matches. I actually watched quite a bit of them. And, you wrestled a very physical style, and people don't understand that, that these women, they wrestled like the guys back then. But now, Joyce, I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit because we're having a little trouble hearing you. But so I want you to walk me through the first time you ever took a back bump and what was going through your mind. Did you think, like, am I nuts doing this, or did you like it? Like a lot of people say, I liked it.
you talking about in training?
Yes.
Oh gosh, that first bump. I said, I can't do that because you just.
That's why I asked you.
After the first bump and you kept going, huh?
That's exactly why I asked you.
The morning, I said, I can't get out of bed. I had to literally pull me up by the hair to get me up out of bed. That's how sore I was.
I believe it. And I want to tell people something. And Joyce, you will appreciate this. I've been in the ring. I've taken some back bumps. I've taken quite a few bumps, in fact. And I got to tell people, what Joyce is telling you is absolutely true. I couldn't get out of bed for a week, okay? Yeah. I thought my body had died. It hurts. It hurts. But it's like anything else. You keep doing it and you build up a tolerance to it. So you trained with, of course, one of the most iconic female wrestlers of all time, Lillian Ellison, the Fabulous Moolah. And a lot of people have, of course, she's gone now, rest in peace. But a lot of people, Joyce, have very mixed emotions about Moolah. What was your first impression of Fabulous Moolah?
Well, she was really sweet. Honey, this, babe, and she was a very Southern lady. But, I mean, we all have our bad in us.
Right.
It's like with the documentary about Moolah. Right. I just thought that they didn't handle it good. Because the preacher and one or two of the girl grapplers that were on there, when you're young, you do things that when you get older, you're not too proud of. And so the thing was, I would want someone shaking my closet right now and my skeletons come rolling out from when I was 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. My son would be very embarrassed. And that's how I feel they treated Moolah. I mean, the Bible says, and I'm not going to be a Bible person, you know, ye who without sin cast the first stone.
Exactly.
Amen.
Now, if those
Amen.
have ever committed a sin, then they could say something really bad about Moolah.
Yeah.
But since they were just as bad, and trust me, I know a lot on all of it.
Joyce, can I ask you a question about that? Because it's exactly what you're talking about right now. There are people who said that if Moolah liked you, that she was extra hard on you because she knew that you had it in you. But there are other people who said that if Moolah was nice to you, she was about to cut you.
Well,
when I say cut, meaning to get rid of you.
Get rid of, yeah.
Yeah.
No, she was rough on me because she knew that I was going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
She knew I was going to be good. Joyce, you can do it. You can do that. You know, you take that bump. You can take a back bump.
Right.
I mean, she was always out there telling me you can do it, and then I did it. But the thing is, she wasn't out. She would have to come out. The main girls would tell her, "Hey, Joyce is to this stage now," and so she'd come out to the gym, and she would critique what I was doing, and that way she would know, okay, I can do that in the ring with her the next time.
Right.
And she only got into things maybe once or twice the whole time I trained.
Wow.
Right.
But make sure that someone capable of training me was out there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
So, were you primarily, got in the ring and trained with, would that have been like Donna, Christanello, and ladies at the time like that?
Yeah. Donna, Vicki Williams, Peggy Patterson.
Okay.
Oh, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
wow.
They were out there with me every day training, twice a day.
Wow.
Morning and afternoon. And it was.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in a long time. Peggy Patterson. Holy smokes. Jeez. So go ahead, Chris. This is your chance, brother.
Okay, well, I have questions all the time, so
ask. That's why you're here.
I'm very curious about how did you feel about having to take on the name of a lady who had used the name before you, since there was the Joyce Grable before.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Joyce, you and I talked about that a little last night. Yeah.
Right.
Tell everybody what we're talking about. So, in case people don't know, there were actually 2 female wrestlers with the name Joyce Grable. So, go ahead. I'll let you pick up from that point.
Okay. The first Joyce Grable, her real name was Joyce Fowler. Yeah. She married George Becker, which George Becker and he wrestled in the Carolinas. Him and Johnny Weaver were.
Yeah, they were tag team champions. Yeah.
Yes. And so she married him, and so then she started wrestling under Joyce Fowler. She didn't do Joyce Grable, but for a very short time.
Right.
And so when I trained, Joyce and I, we had really a lot of features, the same features. We didn't actually look alike, but our body shape and the features were there.
Right.
But Moolah asked me, would I consider using the name Joyce Grable? told me about everything. And everybody acted like she was so secretive that you never got told anything. She talked to me about everything, before I
Yeah.
did it, and stuff. But I told her I didn't mind taking the name. I said, as long as I'm the one getting the pay, as long as the other Joyce don't pay, I'm happy to give her. So we went with Joyce Grable. Now, a lot of the guys didn't know a lot of the guys that had been with Joyce Grable the first one, they thought I was the same one
Right.
in the dressing. And I did pull a few ribs on them because Moolah knew who they were and said, Joyce used to sleep with him. Do this and all. And I did, and we had fun with it. And that's the name of it.
Absolutely.
You've got to have fun. And I really
Absolutely.
enjoy it.
Incredible.
I sure
Chris, now I know you got tons of questions. You're the historian here.
Oh
So
yeah,
this is like a once in a lifetime
it really
opportunity.
is.
So
So I
have
was,
at it, brother. This is
yeah.
your opportunity. Go for it.
So I was reading about you and Judy Martin going against Jerry Roberts and Steve O in the first intergender tag team match. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. Okay. That was one of my favorite things. Ole Anderson was booking, and so
Holy.
that's what he wanted to do. And so when Vern Gagne saw it, he called Ole and said, "You can't do this. This is not getting over. Women should never be in the ring with men, like in a one-on-one and stuff." But Ole, he, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So every week, Judy Martin and I would go to Atlanta TV and make interviews and stuff. In fact, one of my interviews that really got me heat with a lot of the boys was I said, go into a courtroom any day of the week, and us women, we take everything you men have worked all your lives for. We get it. We get everything, and we're going to get everything in this match. Some of the guys, especially ones that went through hard divorces, and we know a few
That,
of them.
my friend, is how you get heat.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how you work heat.
And that's how I got it. And so then Judy Martin, and so we were in the Omni, and no one wrote us a script. We didn't practice with the guys
Yeah.
because we just didn't do that then. They were all the way over on the other side of the Omni from us.
Right.
We didn't know if they got top wristlock the same way we did, if they got a headlock on the same side. We knew nothing about nothing. All we knew was what match we were on and who we were then.
Yeah.
And you'll know it when it happens.
Now, Joyce, were
we
you guys given? I was going to say, were you guys given finishes to do? Like you knew your
No.
finish? No. Oh.
No.
Oh,
Called
really?
it in the ring. Yes.
Wow.
Called it in the ring. And so we knew when this is it, and stuff. But the match looked really good. And Bobby Simmons, Ole told Bobby Simmons to go out, sit at ringside, and said, if people start using vulgarity about, kick her here, kick her there, just stop. Because he wasn't for sure this is the first time.
Yeah.
We had those people mad at us. They were saying, kill us from the start of the match. My brother, it was the first time he had seen me wrestle, and he sat way up in the balcony. And this guy, he was just cussing me up there. he turned around and he said, "That's my sister you're talking about."
That's funny. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, wow.
None of my family, even to my husband, never smartened them up the whole time we were married.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
None of my mom, they knew nothing. That was strictly kayfabe.
You kayfabed your family.
Yes.
That
And
is
my
a great worker.
Yeah.
Take notice,
My
Chris.
husband
That's
did.
a great worker. If you're kayfabing your family, you're good.
We were married in Colombia because he was in the army, and he would travel with me nearby towns. He never knew nothing. Nothing.
Let me ask you a question. You said that the women were separated from the men, right?
Right.
Okay, so now, were the heel women separate from the babyface women, or were all the women together?
It's according to what towns you were in.
Okay.
If there were that many dressing rooms, yeah, you just went by. If there was 3 dressing rooms, then fine. If we could come out different sides, if
Right.
not, we were in the guys. It would just
Let me
we
ask
were
you a
separate.
question, because that's a good point that you're leading me into a question here. And I'm curious. Wrestlers spend a lot of time on the road, and certain
Right.
towns are, especially back in the day, not so much now with television, but back when you guys were on the road all the time, certain towns were like wrestling towns, wrestling hotbeds. New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Texas, anywhere in Texas, for crying out loud. Did you ever find that there were certain towns that were more receptive to women's wrestling than others? What were your favorite towns to play?
Okay. What matters is you really like the bigger towns. The bigger towns, you're going to make a bigger payday.
Mm.
But Madison Square Garden, yeah, I love Texas. I always thought I would go to Texas when I quit wrestling, but I didn't. I came back to Georgia. But I loved Canada.
Mm.
I really loved Canada.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and I did a lot of work in Canada. Uh, like I said, Nova Scotia, Brunswick, Calgary. I just like all through Canada.
And that's
And
something that a lot of people don't really talk about much these days, Chris, is the women's wrestling scene in Canada at the time. They had some really great female wrestlers came out of Canada. And it's a shame because, a lot of these women are lost to history, Joyce.
Yeah.
right.
And it's a
Yeah.
shame. That's like why we do this show,
Mm-hmm.
is to preserve the history.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest reasons I do this show. Because how many people get to sit with a legend like Joyce Grable and get to hear, firsthand stories?
Yeah.
And because a lot of these women are gone. A lot of them don't do interviews.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are married and have, children and grandchildren, and they left wrestling behind. They don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So when Joyce Grable says, "Yeah, I'd love to talk about it," you bet your ass I'm going to jump on it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Chris. Talk. Let's talk history.
Okay, let me think of some
So
good
many questions. I got so many questions.
That's just it. Where to start here?
Start at the
So
beginning.
Joyce, what was your favorite match? Do you have a favorite match that stands out to you? A favorite opponent?
Well, right now, well, a couple of years back, I saw a video. I had done forgot about the match, but if you go on YouTube, watch the match between me and Penny Mitchell.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
And you talking, I really had ate my Cheerios that morning because she was new. Dick Worley was the referee.
Mm.
He was my neighbor.
Oh, wow.
Dick Worley.
During that,
Yep,
yeah,
Dick Worley, God rest his soul, lived
Oh,
5
yeah,
minutes
he
from
died.
here.
Yeah, but he watched that match.
Yeah.
You would think, oh, during the match, he gives me a backdrop.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he was, and we didn't see none of this stuff now. It was what happened in the ring. We saw that the people wanted it, and like I said, Penny was a very new person at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so we wanted it to last. And when he gives me that backdrop, those people go wild. So
Yeah.
get a chance to watch that video and then let me know what you think.
And
Yeah.
and
I'll
Dick
be
Worley
watching
was
that as soon as it sends.
oh yeah, and Dick was a small guy too. He wasn't a big guy.
Right.
And very thin. And very thin.
Yes.
But he was
Yes.
a great referee. He was the perfect referee. I don't care what anybody says. Dick Worley
Yes.
was the perfect referee. I've got a question for you. I've got a question for you. Here you go. I got one for you. You wrestled at a time when some of the greats were coming up, like Wendi Richter, Leilani Kai, Princess Victoria, of course, Judy Martin. Oh my God, we can go on and on. Princess Little Cloud. God, let me think. Who else, Chris? Who am I missing?
Didn't you help
Toni
train Wendi Richter and Penny Mitchell and some of those names? Weren't you training a lot of them?
Wendy, I was out there almost the whole time with her because I knew we were going to eventually be partners.
Oh.
And she really got trained on the road.
Oh, wow.
But
I was hoping you would say that. I was hoping you would
Yes.
say that because I wanted to ask you about that. I heard this. I heard that Wendi did not have like formal training, that she was trained like trial by fire.
no, when Wendy came, she was at what, 6 weeks, and I mean she was good. She would always work out. Wendy, she was tall. Wendy had, you know, um, but no, she got trained. She learned to take stomach. She learned all that stuff. Then I took her on the road with me as my partner. That's when we critique everything. You learn more on the road than what you do out in the gym.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to the people, they'll tell you what they want. They'll tell you if they want fun. They'll tell you if they want memes. They'll tell you exactly what they want to see. And then if you give it to them, you got them eating out all of your.
Go ahead, Chris.
So, speaking of some of the girls you helped train, I remember Bambi, Selena Majors, saying that she actually had asked you to formally train her.
I trained her in my backyard here in Franklin, Georgia.
Wow.
I had always wrestling, had my baby. That's the reason I wanted to get out. I wanted to have a baby. And so I had my son, and then I had started when he was 3 months old, they started calling me about want me to get wrestling. So I said, okay. And then when somebody saw me, she got in touch with me, and I trained her. I set up a ring in my backyard, and I trained her. I had her first matches with her, Because I said, I'll guarantee this week's action, and I will call Moolah. And then Moolah used her a few times for booking.
Right.
You know, she wanted to be on her own, and she made a good career out of it. Bambi did, Selena.
Yeah.
And she is great. The things they do at Wow Out, you know, California, she trains just about all of those girls.
Yeah.
You know, I went out there. I flew out there their first match and did the same thing, critiqued. And this was just, what, a year ago.
Hmm.
Wow.
You know, everything went good. But Bambi, she's one of my, I'm the mother of her.
Yeah, you can be very proud of that student. She turned out very well, went on to great success.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Now she's training people today.
Yeah, picking up where Chris just left off, you know, you become a mentor figure, you know, throughout your career to several women who some who go on to become very well known and some who don't. What's the difference in those people who make it and the people who don't make it? What's the one qualification? What quality do they have to have in order to go full steam ahead, where they actually make it to the big time?
They have to love what they're doing. You can't go in there just to say, I want to meet men. You can't go in there and say, I want to be a beauty queen. You have to go in there loving what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because once you don't like it anymore, get out of it because you're not going to be good at it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I tell them all. If I saw that they weren't fiery in their comeback,
Yeah.
I just, you know.
You know, Joyce, you hear people talk about the it factor. And, you know, somebody's got it, you know, whatever the it factor is. So I'm going to ask you, what is it? What's the it factor?
When you can go out there, do a match, you take 2 or 3 bumps at the most, and have the people eating out of the palm of your hand. That is the it factor. When you ain't got to go out there and just take bumps all whole 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And they don't even go on anymore. You know, when we wrestle,
well, and that's a real good point. That's a real good point. Let me ask you a question about, you know, I'm sure you you know what's going on today with women wrestlers now. So let's talk about probably the most famous woman wrestler of today, Becky Lynch. Okay?
Yeah.
Becky Lynch, of course, you know, as Chris knows, she's pregnant now. And so she left, you know, to have a baby. But what she did was really unusual because she completely broke kayfabe. Not that it's, you know, I think kayfabe's dead anyway, but but let's put it this way. If it wasn't, she killed it.
Mm.
Because she said, I want to thank everyone, you know, for letting me live out my dream. I played this wonderful character, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And she completely took, I'm part of my language, but she took a giant shit on the business when she did that, in my opinion. What do you think of that? I mean, can she come back in the same capacity, or is her career over?
Well, she might not want a career anymore. she might want to get out. She always have more babies. You never can tell. But I'm like you, she should have went out with dignity.
Yeah.
That she could never put the blame, but probably Vince probably told her to do it. Because Vince, you don't do anything without him over.
Yeah.
And it was in the air. And so I'm sure that this is the storyline I want you to tell.
Yeah.
And she told me. So she took all the blame on Vince. You have to put the blame on Vince or whoever's writing the show that day to how she handled the situation. But like I said earlier, a lot of women get into business just to have an affair or marry one of the boys.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the top of their list, marrying one of the guys.
It seems to me that you have to be completely committed to it.
Yeah.
Chris, Chris, you and Joyce have a conversation about because you and I have talked a little bit. You and Joyce have a conversation about what's missing from women's wrestling. How can today's product learn from old school? I'd like to hear that conversation.
Watch the tapes of Joyce Grable, Vicki Williams, Donna Christanello, Toni Rose. Sit back and watch. I don't think a lot of today's women wrestlers actually really have studied, some of the legends of the industry. Some of them, you ask them, who is your favorite wrestler? And they'll name Alicia Fox or someone who was just around in the 2000s. They don't know their history.
I mean, what happened to people like, Penny Banner and, June Byer and, I'm sorry, what's her name? Rita
Cortez.
Rita Cortez, yeah. And people like that. What bothers me, and it saddens me more than bothers me, is that they're lost to history. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for people like Chris Bergstrom and people like Joyce Grable, these names would just be, footnotes in wrestling history. And that's why we have to keep their names and their memories alive through their matches, and people have to see their matches. They have to. So let me ask you, Joyce, if you had to do it, knowing what you know, if you had to do it all over again, would you do it?
If things could be back at the territories, and the way it was,
there you go.
I would do it. Oh, I'd do it with heartbeat. Yes, I sure would, because I had fun. I enjoyed it. I love wrestling. That's the whole thing. You got to love what you do.
Yeah.
But let me tell you a story, and I won't dwell on it too long. I had leukemia. When I turned 60, I found out I had leukemia. I had to have a bone marrow transplant. Well, I was in Tampa, Florida. I did 3 back-to-back matches. I was 60 years old.
Oh, my God.
Yes, and got the phone call that afternoon. You have leukemia. You're going to have to come in right away.
Wow.
And so, go in. It is a horrible, horrible ordeal. It really is. I had to have a bone marrow transplant. All my hair fell out, During the time of this, they said, you have a murmur in your heart. If you live through this, we're going to check and see where that murmur comes from. I lived 2 years after my bone marrow transplant. They do an echo on me. And
Right.
I was born with 2 valves in my heart. Two
Wow.
valves in my heart. They said, "Where's the third one?" Never developed. The doctor, the cardiologist, he watched my matches. He said, "You should never live past your first match. You
Wow.
died as much as you move, as hard as you put them bumps and stuff." So they went in and they put valves in my heart now. And so in my aorta, I have 6 valves. Now this just happened in 2016. So we're
Right.
not talking about many years ago. But through, I don't know why I lived through it, but I lived through it. And some of the matches of me and Wendi, we are non-stop. We go, 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 go.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, we need at least 15 minutes, or we need 20 minutes out of y'all tonight.
Right.
And so what you do, in the girls today, I can start watching it, go to the bathroom, come back, and smash it over. I mean, they do
Yeah.
the 5. And you say, why? If they worked it right, some of these girls are really, really good out there. And
Yeah.
they can really, like Dana Brooks. I know she's just, but her body shape and mine are really, the first time I saw her on TV, I said, that really reminds me of me when I started. And she
Right.
did.
Exactly. Right. So let
And
me ask you, how you holding up now?
oh, well, I still have to go to the doctor. My heart's good. I still have bouts with the leukemia sometimes. But most of the time, them red blood cells will
Well, I was going
build
to
up.
say, God bless you, because you look great.
Yeah.
You look like you're in terrific shape. I tell you
I,
what, who the hell knows? Wrestling may have saved your life.
Right.
right,
Isn't that the
so
craziest
true.
thing? Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
really, if you think about it, it's crazy to think about. But I'll tell you what, I
Yeah,
am so glad. I am so glad that you're still with us. Thank you, God.
Yes.
I mean that
oh,
literally.
Yeah.
So, so
because dropping
let's
off so quick.
let's smarten up. Let's smarten up these young whippersnappers, these young kids. Let's smarten them up. Tell them,
Okay.
if they're thinking about a career in wrestling, the 3 things you have to have if you're going to be successful as a woman in the male-dominated sport of wrestling. What are the 3 must-haves? Obviously, you
You
have to
gotta
have a
have,
love for it, right?
yeah, you gotta have a good trainer.
Hmm.
You gotta have that. They'll not only tell you how to take a bump, show you how to take a bump. You gotta have a great personality.
There you go.
You got to be able to take criticism because you can't let someone say, "Hey, terrible." You got to throw a punch like this and get mad at them and throw a fit. You got to be able to take that criticism.
Yeah.
And you got to want and love the wrestling world. So you be good in it.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is amazing and sound advice. Chris, you have questions?
Oh, to add on to what she said too, Sue Green still trains women wrestlers. She was just telling me
Oh,
about
yeah.
her school, and it's like, there you go, one of the legends of the industry. Find her and start your career.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Joyce, I'll tell you what, this was a fast hour.
Oh, it went by
I
fast. Yeah.
would love to bring you back.
Oh,
Yeah, we've already talked an hour already.
I guess you have. I didn't realize time was gone by that quick.
It has. I would love to bring you back for part 2. Can you do that with me?
Oh, sure.
I would love to bring you back. I'll tell you what. Chris, let me ask you a question because you're handling this for me. Do we
Okay.
do we have can we get Joyce on ladies night?
Hey, that would be great.
You want to join us for ladies night?
Her and her tag team partner Judy Martin.
Judy Martin
reunited.
will be with us.
But Victoria and I talk over each other.
Yeah.
We've tried that before, and we can't.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do another show just with you, just by yourself. Because I think we barely, yeah, you know why? Because we barely scratched the surface. But, you know, we only have limited time. We only have, you know, an hour show. So, but that was a fast hour, Chris.
Oh, yeah, it flew by.
Wow,
I forgot
really
most
did.
of my questions.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joyce. I'll tell you what. I actually have my schedule book right here. I'll tell you what. I want to do this right now while I got you. While I got you here, lady. Why don't we do? How about this one? How about we do July 21st?
Okay.
Can you do that? Cool.
I think so. Yep.
Why don't we do that? Oh no, you know what? Let's not. Let's do this. Hold on. I got something better. Let's move it up to July 2nd.
Okay.
July 2nd. I don't want to wait all the way into the middle of July. I want to do it right at the beginning of July. So I'm going to put you in right now. Watch this. It is. I got my book right here. See? There's my book. I'm going to put you in right now. Joyce Grable. Joyce Part 2. All right, Chris, you'll be back with me July 2nd.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to talk to some of these ladies.
Think of some really good questions because the harder the questions, the better I like.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. I want to thank you for being here with me. And I'll tell you, it's been an honor, and I can't wait for part 2.
Yeah.
And I just wish we had more time tonight. I really do. So I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say good night to you, and I will give you a call tomorrow, and I will make sure that the link is up on your Facebook page, so you can share it with everybody. All right.
And enjoyed it immensely, and y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Take care, Joyce. Good night, sweetheart. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was great.
That was great. Yeah.
That was a great interview.
It really was.
I'll tell you what, that's the first, and she talked about it too, when her and the other girls get together, they talk over each other.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want that to happen, so I wanted her to have her own, her own show.
Yeah.
And totally I want to bring her back July 2nd.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be, I don't want to wait till July 21st. That's too long.
Yeah.
We'll do July 2nd. So.
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Bergstrom, you done good in your first outing here, kid.
Thank you. I was nervous.
Thank you for setting this up. I appreciate it. And the great artwork behind me. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I will definitely, I can talk to some of the other lady wrestlers about, coming on your show in the future, too. I'm sure I could convince Princess Little Cloud to do it because she's a really great lady and she has so many stories to share.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we try to get her?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you try to reach out to her? Well, my friend, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the amazing artwork. That was beautiful. Look at that background. That's
Anytime you want me to throw something together for the artwork for your
I love
show,
how
I'm happy to.
I love how he says throw it together. Like that would take me a week to do that.
Oh well, yeah. It doesn't
if I
take
could even
me too
pull it
long.
off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Chris. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it was amazing, and we will definitely have you back. So I am going to say a good night to everyone. So before we do, I want you to get all your social media in, get all your plugs in, anything you want to promote.
So I am writing for slamwrestling.net. It is out of Calgary, Greg Oliver, and I'm working on my second article for this site now on the great Olga Martinez, who recently passed away, and wife of Don Serenato, another great legend of wrestling. Sure. Yeah. And
absolutely.
You can also follow my page on Facebook, Fabulous Moolah and the Ladies of Camp Moolah.
I love that. I belong to that page, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of a movie called Below the Belt?
I have heard of it. I have not seen it, though.
It's on YouTube.
Okay.
I want you to check it out. It's a great movie with some amazing legends in wrestling.
All right,
and
I will check that out.
Mildred Burke makes a cameo appearance.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You have to really, don't blink because it's, real short. And there's another great, wrestling movie, a great women's movie called Lipstick and Dynamite.
Yes, that one I have seen many times.
Oh my God! All the legends, they're all in it. Everybody's in it.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great movie!
And like you said, kind of about the ladies not getting along and having bitter rivalries. Well, they had them still on Lipstick and Dynamite.
Oh yeah, and they pulled back the curtain.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you want to see that'll open your eyes. It's called Lipstick and Dynamite, Piss and Vinegar.
Yes, it is.
That's the name of the movie. And I think that's available. I believe that's available on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
It's also available on Tubi TV. Okay. And so check that film out. It's a great film. For us here at Wrestling Future, you can find us on Facebook.com/Wrestling with the Future. That's our public page. We also have a private group. It's Wrestling with the Future Podcast. That's a private group. You can join that. You answer 2 or 3 questions, and then you're in. Our YouTube channel is Wrestling with the Future Podcast. Make sure you put in Wrestling with the Future Podcast, and we pop right up. We're on Twitter at Wrestling Future, no G, Wrestling Future on Twitter. And if you want to hit me up, I'm at Angelo DeCipio on Facebook. So send me a friend request and or hit me up. If you have questions, comments, or show suggestions, wrestlingwiththefuture@gmail.com is the email. We answer everything that comes in. If it takes us a couple days, just bear with us. I'm one guy. So for Chris Bergstrom, for Wrestling with the Future, I'm Psychic Medium Angelo. Thanks for joining us. Happy wrestling, everybody. Goodbye.